The music doesn't stop for a pregnant man. I learned that the hard way on a Tuesday night, in the middle of a packed club, with neon lights cutting purple and blue across my belly, and a stranger's hand wrapped around my waist like he paid for it. The bass rattles through the floor, through the pole, through my palms. My feet are swollen inside these shoes. My lower back has been screaming since 6 o'clock. The baby shifts, a slow, rolling pressure just beneath my ribs, and I breathe through it the way I've learned to breathe through everything in this place. Quietly, without stopping, without letting my face show a single thing. Come on, pretty boy. Give us something worth watching. The man at the front table has been here 40 minutes. He's already on his 4th drink. 3 other guys in expensive suits sit with him, and not one of them has looked at me like I'm a person since I walked out onto this floor. I keep moving. Hey, I'm talking to you. I don't look at him. How much for a private session, sweetheart? The men at his table laugh. I focus on the beat. I count the minutes inside my head, the same way I've been counting them all night. 4,000 more 1 before midnight. That number lives behind my eyes like a second heartbeat. My mother's prescription runs out Thursday. The landlord sent his 3rd message this morning. The baby needs iron supplements I've been putting off for 11 days, because iron supplements and rent cannot exist in the same week on what I make. So I move. I keep my eyes slightly unfocused. I keep breathing. Then the man stands up. He crosses the floor without asking, and puts both hands on my waist from behind like we are somewhere private. Like this is something we agreed to. I pull away immediately. Don't. I'm working. So am I. He grins. Relax. I just want to dance. Let go of me. You're a dancer, aren't you? So dance. He slides his hands forward, and the second his palm lands flat against the swell of my belly, something primal fires through my chest. I grab his wrist with both hands and yank it back, stepping away hard enough that my heel catches the edge of the platform. I grab the pole before I fall. The table of men explodes with laughter. Careful! Don't drop it! His alpha really lets him do this? One of them calls out. Looking like that? The man in front of me tilts his head and looks at my stomach, the way people look at something that makes them uncomfortable, right before they decide to make it into a joke. That child is going to grow up so ashamed of you. He says it softly, almost gently, like he's doing me a favor by saying it out loud. You know that, right? What kind of Omega does this while he's carrying? A cheap one, someone offers from the table. A desperate one, another one corrects. They all laugh again. I stand there with one hand on the pole and the other pressed flat against my belly, and I cannot move. I cannot breathe. The music is still playing. The bartender at the far end of the room is polishing a glass and deliberately not looking over here. The other dancers have pulled back toward the edges of the floor. Break, hi viewers. Have you ever had to smile at someone who was humiliating you, just because you needed something from them? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I read every single one. Break, I want to walk out. I want to pull every last piece of dignity I have left and walk straight through that door and never come back. But then I think about my mother's amber prescription bottle sitting empty on her nightstand since Monday. I think about the way she looked at me this morning when she said she was fine, the way she said it too quickly, the way she pressed her hand against her chest when she thought I wasn't watching. I think about the 4 envelopes I fill every single week, the ones I labeled in blue pen: mother, baby, rent, Min-Jae. The last one is always the one that makes my hand shake when I seal it, because no matter how much I put inside it, it is never enough to keep him calm. So I stay. I put both hands back on the pole. I lift my chin, and I make a silent promise to the baby pressing warm and trusting against my ribs. This is temporary, I whisper. I promise you. This is the last time. I have made this promise before. The baby shifts again, slow and heavy, completely unaware of where we are, or what it costs me to stand here. That trust is the most devastating thing in this room, so I hold it like a stone in my chest and I keep moving. Then the music stops, and the silence that crashes in is so sudden and so total that every single person on this floor feels it in their stomach. I look toward the entrance. The doors are open. 2 men in black stand on either side of the frame like they were placed there. And between them, walking into the club with the slow and deliberate stride of someone who has never once needed to hurry, because the world has always rearranged itself around his schedule, is a man in a dark suit. He is tall, broad shoulders, The jacket open, the white dress shirt beneath it unbuttoned at the collar. Tattoos climb his neck, dark ink curling up toward his jaw, across both hands, over his knuckles. His hair is dark and pushed back from his face. His jaw is sharp. His eyes move across the room with the quiet, assessing calm of a man who already owns everything he is looking at. Then his eyes stop. On me. Then on the man still standing 2 feet in front of me with his hand raised like he was about to reach for me again. The tattooed man in the suit doesn't raise his voice. He simply fixes his gaze on the patron's hand and says, with the kind of absolute, bone-deep quiet that is somehow louder than anything else in the room, "Take your hand off him." The patron blinks, laughs nervously. "Relax, man. He's just a dancer." The man in the suit takes one single step forward. The patron's hand drops, and in the silence that follows, with the neon lights still bleeding purple and blue across the floor, and every person in this club holding their breath, I realize something that makes my stomach drop completely. The man standing between me and my humiliation isn't a customer. He isn't just a wealthy stranger who decided to play hero tonight. The manager behind the bar has gone completely white. The security team is already moving toward the walls. This man, with his tattoos and his silence and that one step that cleared the entire room, is the reason this club exists at all. He owns it, and he is looking directly at me. The stranger doesn't move toward me. Every other man in this room has been moving toward me all night, reaching, grabbing, leaning in. And this man, the one with enough power to make the music stop just by walking through the door, simply stands between me and the patron like a wall that decided to become a person. "Walk away," the stranger says. His voice is low, completely level, the kind of voice that doesn't need volume because the weight behind it does all the work. The patron's jaw tightens. He looks at the stranger, then at me, then back again, and something ugly moves across his face. "Who exactly do you think you are?" "Someone who just told you to walk away. I'm a paying customer." The man straightens his jacket, puffing himself up the way men do when they've decided embarrassment is someone else's fault. "So what if you own this club? That doesn't give you the right to interfere with paying customers. We were just having a little fun." "Fun." The stranger repeats the word quietly, like he's examining it, like he already knows how worthless it is. "That's right. Fun. So back off before I make this into something neither of us wants." The stranger tilts his head just slightly. "You put your hands on a pregnant Omega who told you to stop. You mocked him in front of a room full of people, and you're standing here talking to me about fun. I'm standing here telling you to mind your business." The patron takes one step forward, finger raised, chin up, wearing the particular brand of confidence that comes from never once facing a real consequence. "You want to throw me out? Fine. But you don't get to talk to me like that over some cheap little—" He never finishes the sentence. The stranger's fist connects with his jaw so fast, I don't fully process it until the patron is already on the floor. No wind-up, no warning, no rage on his face. One clean, precise movement, and the man who was talking drops like his bones forgot their job all at once. The stranger straightens. He adjusts the cuff of his jacket. He doesn't even look down at the man crumpled at his feet. The entire club holds its breath. The 2 men at the patron's table rise, and then they see the security team closing in from every corner of the room, and they sit back down very, very slowly. "Remove them," the stranger says, not loudly, not angrily, the way someone speaks when they are completely certain the instruction will be followed. Security moves instantly. The patron is lifted from the floor. The table is cleared in under 90 seconds. And then the stranger turns and looks directly at me. "Are you hurt?" "No." It comes out before I even think. Then, I bow quickly. "I'm sorry." He looks at me steadily. "Why are you apologizing?" I open my mouth. Nothing comes out. I have been apologizing so automatically and for so long that sometimes I genuinely don't know what I'm apologizing for anymore. The silence between us stretches, and I feel heat crawl up the back of my neck. "You should go home," he says. "I can't." "Why not?" I glance toward the bar. The manager stands behind it with his arms folded and his eyes fixed on me, and I know that expression. I have been on the receiving end of it every time I've tried to leave early. I still have 40 minutes left on my shift. If I leave now, he docks my pay. The stranger looks at the manager. Something shifts behind his eyes. Quiet, controlled, and somehow far more unsettling than anger. He crosses to the bar without another word. "Pay him for the full night," he tells the manager. The manager blinks. "Sir, his shift isn't for the full night." The register opens. I stand at the edge of the dance floor, watching this stranger dismantle in 30 seconds what I have been quietly suffering through for months, and I don't feel relief. I feel the familiar cold creep of debt settling across my shoulders. Because I know how this works. I know what comes after someone powerful decides to do something for you. I know the shape of a favor that was never actually free. He walks back and holds out the night's earnings. I look at the money. I look at him. And before my brain can offer a single alternative, my feet are already carrying me back toward the pole. I need to give him a dance. That's what he would want, right? My hands reach for it. My body shifts into position automatically, the way it does every night, the way it has learned to do whenever I owe someone something I cannot pay back with money. This is the only currency I have ever had. "Stop," I freeze. The man is watching me with an expression I cannot read at all. Not hunger. Not amusement, something quieter and more unsettling than either. I turn to face him slowly. My heart is hammering so loud I'm certain he can hear it. "You don't want me to dance? What do you want from me then?" He holds my gaze. "Nothing." I stare at him. The word lands somewhere between my ribs and just sits there, foreign and impossible. Because in my entire life, nobody powerful has ever handed me something and meant that word. "Nothing?" My voice comes out smaller than I intend. "Nothing," he repeats. Steady, unhurried, certain. I take the money. I walk out without looking back, because if I look back, I will start believing him. And believing a man whose name I don't even know yet feels like the most dangerous thing I could possibly do. The night air hits me the second I step outside, cold and sharp and real. I pull my jacket tight around my stomach and walk the 4 blocks home, telling myself tonight is over, that I made enough, that my mother will get her medication and the baby will be okay, and everything will hold together for one more week. I almost believe it, until I turn the corner onto my street and see the light burning in my apartment window. My stomach drops. Min-jae is here. I stop on the pavement in the cold with tonight's earnings pressed against my chest, and I already know, before I open that door, before I climb those stairs, before I hear a single word, that he knows exactly how much money I made tonight. And he is already waiting for his share. Min-jae is sitting at my kitchen table when I walk through the door. He isn't doing anything, just sitting there in the dark with his arms folded and his eyes on the door, like he has been watching it for hours, waiting for exactly this moment. The lamp on the counter is off. The only light in the apartment comes from the hallway behind me, and it catches the side of his face just enough for me to see his expression. He already knows. I don't know how. I never know how. But Min-jae has always had a way of knowing exactly how much money I've made before I even walk through the door. Like he has a sensor wired somewhere inside me that transmits the number directly to him the moment I leave the club. "Close the door," he says. I close it. "How much?" I set my bag down slowly. My feet are still swollen. My back is still screaming. The baby is pressing against my ribs with that slow, rolling weight that has become as familiar to me as breathing. And all I want in the entire world right now is to sit down, take off these shoes, and check on Soo-yeon. "I made enough for the medication," I say carefully, "and a little toward rent." "How much?" Seo-jun. "Min-jae." I won't ask again. I tell him the number. He unfolds his arms and holds out his hand across the table. Flat. Palm up. Like it's the most natural thing in the world. Like this is simply how things work between us and always have been and always will be. "I need the medication money," I say. "My mother's medication runs out Thursday. If she misses more than 2 days, the doctor said, 'Your mother isn't my responsibility.'" The words land the way they always do. Not loudly, just heavily. Like something dropped from a great height that doesn't make much noise but leaves a mark in whatever it hits. "She's the grandmother of your child," I say quietly. "And?" He doesn't even blink. "And she is sick, Min-jae. She has been sick for 8 months, and I have been covering every single bill, every prescription, every copay, every—" I stop. I press my hand flat against my stomach because the baby has shifted, and the movement sends a pull of pain across my lower back, and I need 1 second, just 1 second, to breathe through it before I keep talking. "I'm not asking you to pay for it. I'm asking you to let me keep the money I already earned so I can pay for it myself. You earn that money because you're my Omega. He says it like it's a legal citation, like it settles something, which means what you make is part of this household. Then contribute to this household. My voice comes out steadier than I feel. Pay one bill. Buy one bag of groceries. Cover 1 month of rent. One time, Minjae. That's all I'm asking. He stands up. I take one step back without meaning to, and I hate myself for it the moment I do it, because he sees it, and something in his expression shifts in a way that tells me he filed that step away for later. You've been spending a lot of time thinking about what I don't do, he says, walking slowly around the side of the table, and not enough time being grateful for what I allow. What you allow. I repeat the words before I can stop myself. That's right. He stops in front of me. Close enough that I have to look up to meet his eyes. I allow you to work. I allow you to keep most of what you make. I allow you to have your mother living where I can keep an eye on things. He tilts his head. You want to talk about what you've earned? Let's talk about what you'd lose. My hand tightens over my stomach, and he sees it. His eyes drop to my belly and something moves across his face. Not warmth, not paternal feeling, just cold and quiet calculation. You've been different lately, he says softly. Since tonight. Something happened at the club. Nothing happened. You're lying, he says it simply. I always know when you're lying, Seo-jun. Your voice gets very careful. He reaches out, and I flinch, before his hand even makes contact, and he smiles at that, a small, private smile that makes my stomach turn. Try to take my child from me, he says quietly, and I will destroy you in that courtroom before you finish a single sentence. Who is going to believe a pregnant Omega who dances in a nightclub? He lets the question sit in the air between us like smoke. Nobody. That's who. He takes the envelope from my bag. All of it. Not his portion. All of it. Then he walks out and closes the door behind him with a soft, final click that is somehow worse than a slam. I stand in the middle of my kitchen in the dark, and I don't move for a long time. Then I hear it. A small sound from the hallway. Barely anything. Just the soft, careful exhale of someone who has been trying very hard not to make noise. My mother is standing in the doorway of her room in her nightgown, one hand pressed against the doorframe, her eyes wet and her face carrying the particular devastation of a mother who has just heard everything and cannot fix any of it. Seo-jun, she whispers. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, baby. This is because of me. All of this is because of me. Something inside my chest cracks open. No. I cross the room, and I take her face in both hands, and I make her look at me, because I need her to hear this. I need her to actually hear it, and keep it. You are not the reason this is happening. You are the reason I get up. You are the reason I put on those shoes every night and walk back into that place. You are the reason I'm still standing in this kitchen right now, instead of giving up completely. My voice breaks on the last word, and I don't try to hold it together anymore. You're not the reason I'm suffering. You're the reason it's worth it. She pulls me in and holds me the way she used to when I was small, and I let her, standing in the dark of our hallway with my pregnant belly between us and my face pressed against her shoulder, crying in a way I haven't allowed myself to cry in months. It takes me a long time to stop. When I finally pull back and wipe my face and walk to the counter to check the envelopes, the ones I keep tucked behind the coffee can where Minjae has never thought to look, the medication envelope is gone. He found it. He took it. I stand there, staring at the empty space behind the coffee can, with both hands flat on the counter, and nothing left in my chest but a hollow, ringing silence. Then my phone lights up on the counter. Unknown number. I almost don't answer. But something makes me pick it up, some instinct I don't have a name for yet, and I press it to my ear. The voice on the other end is low, controlled, immediately familiar in a way that stops my breath completely. Seo-jun. A pause. I need you to listen to me very carefully. The phone screen goes dark in my hand. I stood there for 3 full seconds after I heard his voice, and then I pressed the red button and ended the call like a coward. Like if I just made the screen go dark fast enough, the shame crawling up my throat would go dark with it. It doesn't. I slide down the kitchen cabinet until I'm sitting on the floor with my back against it, and my knees pulled as far up as my stomach will allow, and I press the empty envelope against my chest and I cry. Not quietly, not carefully. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere below words, below thought, below the part of you that still cares about being heard through the walls. The next 4 days teach me something I already knew but had been pretending wasn't true. Nobody wants to hire a pregnant person. I go to every restaurant within walking distance, every convenience store, every laundry service, every call center, every administrative office with a help wanted sign in the window. I sit across from managers who look at my stomach and then look at their desks and tell me the position has already been filled, or that they'll keep my number on file, or that the role requires more physical activity than would be appropriate for someone in my condition. One woman doesn't even let me finish my sentence before she shakes her head. I walk home on the 3rd day with nothing. No callback, no second interview, no maybe. On the 4th day, my mother can't get out of bed. I find her in the morning with her hand pressed to her chest, the way she does when the pain is bad. Her breathing shallow and careful. Her face the color of old paper. She tells me she's fine. She tells me not to worry. She tells me to eat something before I leave. I look at the empty space behind the coffee can where the medication envelope used to be. Then I put on my shoes, and I go back to the club, and that stranger is already there. I see him the moment I walk through the staff entrance, standing near the back of the floor with his arms folded and his eyes on the door, and the look on his face when he sees me is not surprise. He was waiting. He knew I would come back, and he waited, and somehow that is more unsettling than anything else. I almost turn around. Then his eyes meet mine, and he crosses the floor toward me, and I stay because my legs have apparently decided that running is no longer an option. "You ended my call," he says. No greeting, no preamble. Just that, delivered in the same low, level voice that has been living in the back of my head for 4 days. I stop. I have been constructing excuses for this moment since the night it happened. Bad signal. Wrong time. Phone died. Every single one of them dissolves the moment I open my mouth, because he is looking at me with an expression that makes lying feel like an insult to both of us. "I couldn't talk," I finally say. "That's not why you ended it." I look at the floor. "Co June." His voice drops slightly. "Why did you—" I was embarrassed. The words come out before I can stop them, raw and unguarded and completely true. "You called and I couldn't. I couldn't let you—" I press my lips together. "I'm sorry." He is quiet for a moment. Then he says, "Don't apologize. You said that last time, and you did it again." Something almost unbearably gentle moves through the space between us, and I don't know what to do with it, so I look away. Then the door behind me crashes open. I know before I turn around. I know from the way the air in the room changes, from the particular energy of footsteps I have memorized over 2 years of learning, which sounds mean, I need to make myself small. Min Jae's eyes sweep the room and land on me, and then move to the man standing beside me, and something in his face goes from fury to ice in the space of a single breath. I knew it. His voice is very quiet. I knew something was happening here. Since that night, he takes 3 steps toward me. "You've been coming back here for him." "Min Jae, don't." He cuts me off. "Don't stand there and explain yourself to me like I'm stupid. You think I haven't seen the way you've been acting? Coming home late for the past 4 days, hiding money. I work here," I say. "I have always worked here. You know that. I know what I see." He is close now. Too close. His jaw is tight and his eyes are doing the thing they do right before something happens that I will spend days recovering from. "You're embarrassing me. Standing here in front of all these people with another man like you don't belong to me." He raises his hand. I see it coming, and I close my eyes and I brace myself. But the hit never lands. There is a sound instead, a single sharp impact. And when I open my eyes, Min Jae is 6 feet away from where he was standing, his back against the far wall, one hand pressed to his face, staring at the tattooed man beside me, with an expression I have never once seen on Min Jae's face in 2 years. Fear. The stranger shakes out his hand slowly. He doesn't look away from Min Jae. He doesn't say anything. He just stands there between us, the way he did the first night, and the silence he creates is absolute. Min Jae straightens. He looks at me. Fine. His voice has changed. Softer now, deliberate. The way it gets when he has decided that the most painful thing he can do is be calm. Fine, Seo-jun. You want to do this? We'll do this properly. He smooths the front of his jacket. The moment that baby is born, I am filing for full custody. And when I do, he tilts his head. What exactly do you think a judge is going to say about a pregnant Omega who dances in a nightclub? Who associates with men like this? He gestures at the stranger beside me. Who can't even keep a stable home? My legs go cold. Min Jae, please. I take one step toward him. The stranger's hand closes around my arm, gently, firmly, pulling me back without force, the way you pull someone back from a ledge. Don't, he says quietly, just to me. Remove him, he says to the men behind him. And just like that night, security moves. Min Jae is grabbed by both arms, still talking, still threatening, his voice rising as they drag him toward the exit. You'll regret this, Seo-jun. You think he's going to protect you? You think this ends here? The doors close behind him. The club is silent. I am shaking. My hands won't stop. My mind is already 4 blocks away in a small apartment where a sick woman is lying in bed, completely alone, and completely unaware that the man who has been using her existence as leverage against me for 2 years just left this building furious and with nowhere else to direct it. My mother. The words come out cracked and thin. I need to go to my mother. He knows where she is. He's going to do something to her. I turn toward the door, and my legs don't cooperate the way I need them to. I need to go right now. I need to go to my mother. Seo-jun, please, please, I need to. I look down. There is warmth running down the inside of my thigh. Thick red blood already pooling on the floor. I don't understand what I'm seeing for a full second. Then I do. And the stranger's voice is saying my name, and his hands are reaching for me, and the floor is coming up very fast, and the last thing I think before everything goes dark. No, not yet. Not my baby. The ceiling is white. That is the first thing I see when I open my eyes. White ceiling, white walls, the soft mechanical hum of something beside my head that I don't immediately recognize. Then the smell hits me, antiseptic and recycled air, and the particular sterile emptiness of a place where people come when their bodies have run out of options. Hospital. I am in a hospital. I try to sit up and my body registers the wrongness before my mind does. Something is different. Something about the weight of myself, about the way the blanket sits across my stomach, about the absence of that familiar pressure beneath my ribs that has been the most constant thing in my life for the past 7 months. I look down. My stomach is flat. The world tilts. How is my baby? My voice comes out as barely anything, cracked and small and already terrified of the answer. Where is my baby? Is the baby okay? I need someone to tell me. Seo-jun. I turn my head. Do-hyun is sitting in the chair beside my bed. He has been there long enough that his jacket is draped over the back of the chair, and his sleeves are rolled to his forearms, and there are shadows beneath his eyes that weren't there the last time I saw him. He is leaning forward with his elbows on his knees and his hands folded, and he is looking at me with an expression that I have never seen on his face before. And I know. Before he opens his mouth, I already know. The way you know things that your body understands, before your brain is willing to catch up. No! The word tears out of me. No! 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 Seo-jun, don't say it. I press both hands flat over my stomach, over the terrible new flatness of it, and something primal and animal rises in my chest that has no name and no shape and no way out, except through my throat. Please don't say it. Please. The bleeding was severe. His voice is low and careful, and I can hear the effort it takes him to hold it steady. By the time we got you here, the doctors did everything they could. The stress on your body had been building for weeks. It was too much. A pause. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Seo-jun. The sound that comes out of me doesn't feel like it belongs to me. I cry in a way I have never cried before in my life. My hands won't leave my stomach. I keep them pressed there like if I hold on hard enough, something will come back. Like the flatness will reverse itself. Like I will feel that slow rolling shift beneath my palms one more time. Do-hyun doesn't try to stop me. He doesn't tell me to breathe or calm down or that it will be okay. He just reaches over and puts his hand over both of mine. Not grabbing, not pulling, just covering. And he stays there while I fall completely apart. It takes a long time. When I finally surface, when the crying becomes exhaustion and the exhaustion becomes a hollow, ringing silence, I lie there staring at the ceiling with his hand still over mine, and I ask the only other question that matters. My mother. My voice is wrecked. Where is my mother? Is she okay? Did your men reach her in time? Do-hyun is quiet for just a fraction of a second too long. I turn my head and look at him. Tell me, I say. My men went to her apartment. He doesn't look away from me. She wasn't there, Seo-jun. By the time they arrived, he stops, starts again. Min-jae had already been there. She was gone. The hollow silence in my chest fills with something cold and electric all at once. Gone. I repeat the word like I don't understand it. What do you mean gone? Gone where? She's sick. She needs her medication. She can't be moved without. I push the blanket back. Seo-jun, I have to find her. My legs swing over the side of the bed, and the moment my feet hit the floor, my entire body reminds me in one devastating wave exactly what it has just been through. My knees buckle. The floor rushes up. Do-hyun is out of the chair before I finish falling. His arms come around me, both of them, firm and immediate, and he pulls me upright against his chest and holds me there while my legs remember how to exist. I have her. His voice is low and close, and I can feel it against my hair. I have people looking right now. And I've contacted the police. We are going to find her. I promise you. She's sick, I say into his shoulder. She doesn't have her medication. She doesn't know what's happening. She's going to be so scared. I know. His arms tighten slightly. I know. Let me handle it. I let him put me back in the bed because I have no choice, because my body has made the decision for me. I lie there staring at the ceiling while Do-hyun makes calls in the corner of the room, his voice low and controlled and precise, and I hold my own empty stomach and I breathe. The second day arrives the way bad days always do, quietly, without warning. Do-hyun steps into the room mid-morning, with his phone in his hand and an expression on his face that makes me sit up immediately. What happened? I ask. Did they find her? Is she okay? He crosses the room and sits in the chair beside me, and he looks at me for a moment before he speaks. There's been a legal filing, he says carefully. A petition. It came through this morning. I stare at him. A petition for what? He holds his phone out. I take it. I read the screen. I read it again. Then I read it one more time, because the words are not arranging themselves into something that makes sense. Because the name at the top of the document is one I know better than my own, and the words beneath it are ones I never in my life imagined being placed next to that name. Petitioner, Oh Soo-yeon. Respondent, Seo-jun. Grounds, abuse, neglect. The phone slips from my fingers. She's suing me. The words come out as a whisper. My mother is suing me for abuse and neglect. The room is completely silent, and somewhere in that silence, beneath the loss and the grief and the exhaustion and the fear, something new and terrible takes root. Min-jae found her before anyone else did, and whatever he said to her, whatever he showed her, whatever he told her while she was sick and frightened and completely alone, was enough to make her sign her name against mine. They never find her. 7 days. Every contact Do-hyun has in this city. Every favor called in, every channel pushed, every lead followed to its end. Soo-yeon-oh has simply ceased to exist in any record, any location, any system that anyone can reach. A sick woman in a nightgown vanished from her apartment without a single witness, and the court date sitting on the calendar like a stone getting heavier every morning I open my eyes. I am almost out of my mind. I don't sleep in full hours. I sleep in fragments, 20 minutes here, 40 minutes there, and every time I surface from one of those fragments, I reach instinctively for my stomach before I remember, and then I remember everything else, and the weight of it pins me to the bed until Do-hyun appears in the doorway with something warm in his hands and that steady, quiet look on his face that has become the only thing keeping me tethered to the floor. He doesn't ask how I'm feeling. He already knows. He just comes in, sets the food on the table beside the bed, sits in the chair, and stays. He answers my questions when I have them. He makes calls when I need him to. He sits in silence when silence is all I can offer. And somewhere in those 7 days, without a decision or a conversation or a moment I can point to, I stop fighting it. I let him bring me food and I eat it. I let him sit beside me and I don't tell him to leave. I let him hold my hand in the dark when the grief comes back, in waves too large to survive alone, and I don't apologize for needing it. It is the first time in 2 years that someone has given me something without making me feel like I am already in debt for receiving it. On the 8th morning, the doctor signs our discharge papers. I dress slowly, button by button, and when I stand up straight for the first time in a week, my legs hold, unsteady, but present. Do-hyun watches me from across the room, with his jacket already on and his car keys in his hand, and when I take 3 steps toward the door without holding anything, he exhales very quietly, like he has been waiting for that specific moment since the night he caught me on the club floor. "My driver is outside," he says. "You'll stay at my place until—" "No," I say it gently, but I say it. He stops. I turn to face him and I bow, deeply. The kind of bow that comes from somewhere below words, below pride, below everything I've been carrying alone, for so long that I almost forgot what it felt like to put it down. I stay there for 3 full seconds before I straighten. "You have done more for me than anyone has ever done in my entire life," I tell him. And I mean that in a way I don't have words for yet. But I need to go home. I hold his gaze. "I need to go home, Do-hyun." It is the first time I have used his name. Something moves across his face that he doesn't try to hide quickly enough. Then he nods once, and he lets me go. The apartment is exactly as I left it, which means it is wrong in every way. Soo-yeon's slippers are still beside the front door. Her reading glasses are folded on the kitchen table. The half-finished cup of barley tea she never got to finish is still on the counter, long cold, the ceramic handle pointed toward the chair she always sat in. I search every room. I go through drawers, check under furniture, open every cabinet and closet and box I can find, looking for anything. A note, a receipt, a phone number, a name that tells me where Min-jae would take someone he wanted to disappear. I find nothing in the kitchen, nothing in the living room, nothing in my own room. Then I push open the door to Soo-yeon's room, and I see the scratch marks. They run along the inside of the doorframe in 4 thin, desperate lines. Then more on the wall beside the window. Uneven, frantic. The kind that happen when someone's fingers are scrabbling for something to hold on to. Then on the floor near the bed, long, thin gouges in the wood where fingernails dragged. She fought him, and he took her anyway. I stand in the middle of her room, with my hand over my mouth, and I breathe through it, because if I start crying now, I will not be able to stop, and I need to keep moving. I need to keep looking. I press my palm flat against the scratches on the doorframe, and I make her a promise, the same way I used to make them to the baby, low and quiet and fierce. "I'm coming," I tell her. "I'm coming, Mom." I go to Min-jae's room. I have avoided this room for months. It smells like him, and the smell alone used to be enough to make my body go into a particular kind of alert that I've learned means make yourself small. But I go in now and I search. I find a flyer at the back of the bottom drawer, folded twice, creased like it's been handled many times. A resort. Remote, mountain-facing, the kind of place that advertises privacy the way other places advertise luxury. I remember Min-jae mentioning it months ago, more than once, always offhand, always with that particular tone he uses, when something matters to him more than he wants it to show. My hands are already shaking as I take a photo of the address. Before long, I walk through the gates. The resort receptionist is a young woman with a practiced smile that she maintains, even when I walk through the door breathing hard with my coat half buttoned and my hair still flattened from a week in a hospital bed. "I'm looking for someone," I say before she can speak. "Choi Min-jae. He may have checked in recently. Is he here?" She checks her screen. Then she looks up at me with that same practiced smile and says something that stops every single thought in my head. "Mr. Choi has been expecting you, sir. He asked us to direct you to room 412 when you arrived." I stare at her. He knew I would come. He left the flyer for me to find. This was never a hideout. It was a trap. I take the elevator anyway. The hallway on the 4th floor is long and quiet, and carpeted in something dark that swallows the sound of my footsteps completely. Room 412 is at the very end. The door is already open. I push it wider and step inside, and I scan the room in one breath. Bed, window, bathroom door, overturned chair, scattered papers across the floor, a glass broken near the wall, and no one. Empty, completely, devastatingly empty. No Min-jae. No Soo-yeon. "Mom," I say it out loud to the empty room like she might answer. "Mom, where are you?" Nothing. I press both hands against the side of my head, and I stand in the middle of that scattered, overturned room, and I try to think. Try to find one thread to pull, one direction to move in. Suddenly, an arm closes around my neck from behind. Hard, fast, no warning. The grip tightens immediately, cutting off air, pulling me backward off my feet, and against my ear, a voice says very quietly, "Did you really think I'd make it that easy?" The wall hits my back before I fully understand what is happening. 1 second, I am standing in the middle of that scattered room. The next, Min Jae's fingers are around my throat, and my shoulders are pressed against the wall, and my feet are barely touching the floor, and the air in my lungs has somewhere else to be, because his arm is making sure of it. I grab his forearm with both hands. I pull. It doesn't move. "You cost me everything." His voice is right against my ear, low and shaking, and I have heard Min Jae angry before, loud and cold and calculated. But this is something different. This is panic wearing the mask of fury. His arm presses harder. "My child. You let my child die." "Min Jae." It comes out as barely anything. A scrape of sound against a closing throat. "You were supposed to protect it. That was the one thing." He stops. His grip tightens. "Do you know what it feels like? To find out your child is gone and nobody even called you? Nobody told me. I had to find out from a hospital nurse." His voice cracks on the last word and then hardens immediately, like he caught himself feeling something and decided to turn it into something he could use instead. "You're going to pay for that. I'm going to take something from you so valuable that you spend the rest of your life the way you made me feel in that hospital hallway." Black spots are beginning to gather at the edges of my vision. "Please," I force the word out. "Min Jae, please. Where is my mother? Just tell me where she is. Please. She's sick. She needs her medication. Whatever you want from me, whatever you need, just tell me where she is." He laughs. It is the ugliest sound I have ever heard from a human being. "Your mother?" He pulls back just enough to look at my face, his eyes moving across it like he's cataloging every bit of fear he finds there and storing it somewhere. "You want to talk about your mother? You'll see her in court." His smile is thin and cold and completely without warmth. "And I promise you, you have no idea what's coming for you in that courtroom. No idea at all. Please, stop begging." His arm comes back across my throat. It stopped working on me a long time ago. I stop begging, and I start looking. My hands are still gripping his forearm, but my eyes are moving now, scanning everything within reach. The overturned chair, too far. The scattered papers, useless. The broken glass near the wall, too small. And then my fingers find the edge of the table beside me, the narrow surface pressed against the wall, and on top of it, just within reach, a ceramic vase lying on its side, cracked down the middle, heavy enough that I can feel the weight of it when my fingertips graze its surface. I wrap my hand around it. I don't think about it. I swing. The sound it makes when it connects with the side of Min Jae's head is something I will hear for a long time. His arm drops. His whole body staggers sideways, and I don't wait. I push off the wall and I run. Through the door, into the hallway, past the elevator because I cannot wait for an elevator. Straight to the stairwell where my feet hit each step so fast that I am moving more on instinct than balance. Down 4 flights and through the lobby doors and out into the open air of the resort grounds before I take my first full breath. It burns. My throat burns all the way down, raw and tight, and when I press my fingers to my neck, I can already feel the swelling starting beneath my skin. But I am moving. I am outside. And somewhere behind me, 4 floors up, Min Jae is getting back on his feet. The resort grounds stretch out in every direction. Manicured paths, open lawns, mountain faces rising in the distance. Remote, exposed, nowhere to disappear into. I run until the main building is far enough behind me that I can't hear anything except my own breathing and the wind moving through the trees at the edge of the property, and then I find a corner, a narrow alcove between a garden wall and a maintenance shed, and I press myself into it and pull out my phone. My hands are shaking so badly I mistype the number twice. It connects on the second ring. Seo Jun. Do-hyun's voice is immediate. Alert. Like he was already awake, already waiting for something. "I need you." The words come out cracked and urgent, and I don't try to make them anything else. I'm at a resort. I came here after seeing a flyer. It was a trap. He was here. He had his hands on my throat and I hit him and I ran, and I don't know where my mother is, and he said I'll see her in court, and I... Stop. His voice is firm and steady, and it cuts through the spiral cleanly. Are you hurt? My neck. I'm okay. I'm outside. I'm hiding. Where exactly? I describe the alcove, the garden wall, the maintenance shed. I hear movement on his end. Keys, footsteps, a door. Stay exactly where you are, he says. Don't move. Don't make noise. I'm coming. He's going to find me before you get here. The grounds are open. There's nowhere. C.O. June. His voice drops to something quiet and absolute. I'm coming. Stay hidden. The line stays open. I press my back against the cold concrete wall, and I pull my knees to my chest, and I listen to the sound of his breathing on the other end of the phone, and I count minutes, the way I used to count money, desperately, with everything I have, praying the number reaches what I need before time runs out. An hour passes. It passes in the way that hours pass when every minute inside them feels like it could be the last safe one. I hear footsteps twice on the path beyond the garden wall, and both times I stop breathing completely until they fade. I watch the light shift across the ground. I keep the phone pressed to my ear even though neither of us has spoken in 40 minutes, because the sound of another person breathing on the other end of the line is the only thing keeping me from coming apart at the seams. Then the footsteps come back. Slower this time, deliberate, the particular rhythm of someone who is not walking past, someone who is searching. I make myself smaller against the wall. The footsteps stop on the other side of the garden wall. Then Min Jae's hand closes around the edge of the wall, and he pulls himself around it, and he finds me exactly where I am, crouched in the corner with my phone in my hand, and nowhere left to go. There is dried blood on the side of his face from the vase. His eyes are dark and flat and completely done with everything that comes before violence. Get up, he says. I don't move. I said get up, C.O. June. He reaches down and grabs the front of my shirt and hauls me upright, and pulls his fist back, and I close my eyes. The sound that follows is not what I expect. It is not my face meeting his fist. It is his body meeting the ground. I open my eyes. Do-hyun is standing where Min Jae was standing half a second ago, his chest rising and falling with controlled, measured breaths, his right hand slowly unclenching at his side. Min Jae is on the ground looking up at him with blood from the vase still drying on his temple and a brand new reason to be afraid taking shape in his expression. Do-hyun looks down at him for one long, quiet moment. Then he looks at me. Are you hurt? I touch my throat. My legs are shaking. No, I whisper. He holds out his hand. I take it. Do-hyun doesn't let go of my hand the entire drive. Min Jae is in the vehicle behind us, restrained, flanked by two of Do-hyun's men. I watch the resort disappear in the side mirror, and I don't look away until it's completely gone. At the police station, the processing is quick. The officer handling the paperwork looks at the bruising already darkening across my throat and doesn't ask many questions. Do-hyun speaks to him quietly near the desk while I sit in a plastic chair against the wall, and whatever Do-hyun says, the officer nods twice and writes it down. He'll be held in custody until the assault hearing is scheduled, Do-hyun tells me when he comes back. He's not going anywhere. What did he say about my mother? I ask. They can't compel Min Jae to reveal your mother's whereabouts. I stare at him. What? Your mother filed a legal petition 4 days ago. As far as the law is concerned, she is a willing participant in an active legal matter, not a missing person. They can hold Min Jae on the assault charge. He pauses. But they cannot keep questioning him about her location. It falls outside what the assault charge covers. So he sits in that cell and says nothing, and they have to accept that. Do-hyun says nothing, which is its own answer. He sits beside me. He doesn't try to fix me with words. He just sits there, and after a moment, he puts his hand over mine on the armrest, and I let him. He takes me to his home that night. I don't argue. I don't have anything left to argue with. His home is large and quiet and nothing like anywhere I have ever lived, and he gives me a room and food and clean clothes, and asks for absolutely nothing in return. In the mornings, he is already at the kitchen table when I wake up. Coffee on the counter. Already the temperature I prefer, which I never told him. Did they find anything? I ask every morning. Not yet, he says every morning. Do-hyun, we're still looking. Every day. I promise you. I sit down. I drink the coffee. and I try to hold myself together for one more day. One evening, almost 2 weeks in, I fall asleep on his couch. When I wake up, there is a blanket over me that wasn't there before. Do-hyun is at his desk across the room, still working, his back to me. I watch him for a moment in the quiet. "Thank you," I say softly. He doesn't turn around. "Go back to sleep, Seo-jun." I do. The court date arrives on a gray Tuesday morning. Do-hyun's lawyer, Attorney Shin, meets us outside. She is precise and calm and speaks in complete, controlled sentences that make everything sound manageable. "We are ready," she tells me in the elevator. "Is she going to be there?" I ask. "My mother." "Will she come?" Attorney Shin glances at Do-hyun, then back at me. "We'll see." The courtroom fills. The judge takes her seat. Soo-yeon's lawyer, a man I have never seen before, retained by someone whose name I don't need to guess, sits across the aisle and arranges his papers without once looking in my direction. The clerk calls the case. We wait. 5 minutes. 10, 15. "Where is the petitioner?" the judge asks. "Your Honor, we are attempting to reach our client," my mother's lawyer says. "You have 10 minutes. 20 minutes later, the courtroom is exactly as it was. Soo-yeon's chair is empty. Her lawyer's phone calls have gone unanswered. The judge looks at the clock, then at the empty chair, then at her paperwork. "Case dismissed without prejudice," she says. Next. I sit in my chair and I don't move for a full 10 seconds after everyone around me begins gathering their things. Seo-jun. Attorney Shin's hand touches my shoulder. "We should go." "She didn't come," I say. "No. He told her not to come. He's controlling this from a cell and she still does whatever he—" I stop. I press my fingers against my mouth. I breathe. Do-hyun crouches in front of my chair, so he is level with my eyes. "Look at me," he says quietly. I look at him. "We are going to find her. But right now I need you to stand up." I stand up. "I want to see Min-jae." The detention facility visiting room smells like disinfectant and resentment. Min-jae sits on the other side of the partition, looking irritatingly well-rested for a man in custody. He sees me through the glass and his mouth curves into something that doesn't deserve to be called a smile. "She didn't show up," he says before I sit down. "That must have stung. If you hadn't arrested me, she would have shown up." "Where is she, Min-jae?" "I already told the police." "I don't know." "You are lying. You have been lying since the beginning and you are lying right now and we both know it." I lean forward. She is sick. She has been without her medication for weeks. If something happens to her, that's really not my problem. He examines his knuckles with complete disinterest. Although, he looks up, it could become my problem. For the right motivation. I go still. "What do you want?" He leans back in his chair and rolls his shoulders like a man settling into a comfortable conversation. 10 million. A car. And a plane ticket out of the country. He pauses. "Then I will tell you exactly where she is. Every detail." His eyes slide past me to where Do-hyun is standing against the wall with his arms folded. "Your rich new friend can manage that much, can't he? Seems like he's been managing quite a lot on your behalf. You're out of your mind." "Done." I spin around. Do-hyun is already straightening from the wall, his eyes fixed on Min-jae through the glass, his expression completely, unnervingly calm. "Do-hyun." I grab his arm. "What are you doing? You cannot be serious." "It's fine." "It is not fine. It's 10 million. Seo-jun." He looks at me. Just looks at me, steady and certain and completely unmoved. "Trust me." I search his face for something. Hesitation, doubt, anything that tells me this is as insane as it sounds. I find nothing except that same absolute calm that has been the most consistent thing in my life for the past 2 weeks. I let go of his arm. Min-jae walks out of the detention facility the following morning. I stand on the street and watch Do-hyun's lawyer hand over a bag and an envelope. Min-jae opens the envelope, counts what's inside with slow, deliberate focus, checks the plane ticket, checks the departure time. Then he zips the bag and swings it over his shoulder and looks at me with every single tooth showing. "It was almost worth it," he says. "Almost." He raises his hand for a passing cab. It stops. He opens the door, throws the bag inside, and climbs in after it. He pulls the door halfway closed. Then he stops. He looks back at me through the gap with that same thin, satisfied smile. "Your mother," he says. She's in the basement of your apartment. The door closes. The cab pulls away. I am already running. The basement. I say it out loud and the word hits me like a physical thing, because I have lived in that apartment for 2 years. 2 years of walking through that front door, climbing those stairs, sleeping in that bed, and it never once occurred to me, not once, that there was a basement beneath my feet the entire time. Seo Jun. Do-hyun reaches for me, but I am already moving. I run the entire 4 blocks. My lungs are burning by the time I turn onto my street, and my legs are still recovering from everything the past weeks have taken from them, but I don't slow down. I don't stop. I hit the front door of the building with both palms and push through it and scan the house until I find it. A hidden floor door at the far end of the ground floor corridor, half hidden behind the utility shelf, padlocked. The kind of door that blends into a wall so completely, you stop seeing it after the first week. I never saw it. She was here the entire time. Stand back, Do-hyun says from behind me. He nods to one of his men. The padlock is dealt with in under 10 seconds. The door swings open. The smell hits me first. I go down the stairs anyway. The basement is low-ceilinged and dark and cold in the way that spaces get, when no air has moved through them in a long time. There is a single bulb hanging from the ceiling that flickers when Do-hyun's man finds the switch. And in the corner, on a thin mattress on the concrete floor, curled into herself with her knees pulled to her chest. Mom, I am across the room before I finish the word. I drop to my knees beside her and I put my hands on her face and her skin is cold and damp and her breathing is shallow and wrong and her eyes don't open when I say her name again. Mom, I'm here, open your eyes, please. Nothing. Call an ambulance, Do-hyun says behind me. Already done. I can hear his man on the phone before the words are finished. I gather her hands into both of mine and I hold them against my chest, and I talk to her the way she used to talk to me when I was small and sick and frightened, low and steady and without stopping. Because I need her to hear my voice. I need something in her to recognize it and hold on. I found you, I tell her. I found you. You're okay. You're going to be okay. I've got you now. I've got you. The ambulance takes 11 minutes. They feel like 11 years. The hospital waiting room is the same one I woke up in weeks ago, and sitting in it now on the other side of things feels like a cruelty so specific, it could only be intentional. I sit in the chair with my elbows on my knees and my hands folded and I pray, in the way I learned from Soo-yeon herself, not with formal words, just with everything I have directed at something larger than me and hoping it's enough. This is my fault, I say. Do-hyun is in the chair beside me. It isn't. I lived in that building for 2 years. There was a door at the end of the corridor and I never once… Min-jae put her there deliberately because he knew you wouldn't think to look. That is his fault, not yours. We let him go. The words taste like ash. We put 10 million in his hands and we let him walk out of that facility and we put him in a cab and we let him… I didn't let him go, Do-hyun says. I turn to look at him. His expression is calm. Completely, deliberately calm in the particular way that means something is already in motion that I don't know about yet. What did you do? I ask. Before he can answer, the door to the waiting room opens and Sung-ho steps through it. He is carrying a tablet. He crosses the room, hands it to Do-hyun, and stands back with his hands clasped in front of him. Everything is in place, sir, Sung-ho says. Do-hyun holds the tablet out to me. I take it. The screen shows a security camera feed, sharp, high resolution, time-stamped from less than an hour ago. An airport. The departures level. And there, rolling a bag toward the security checkpoint with his plane ticket in his hand and that same satisfied expression he wore when the cab pulled away, Min-jae. I watch him place the bag on the scanner belt. I watch him step through the body scanner. I watch the security officer on the other side of the belt look at his screen, and then look up, and then press something on his radio, and then 3 more officers appear from the left, and 2 from the right, and Min-jae's satisfied expression dissolves into something I have never seen on his face before. Genuine, unguarded, absolute panic. What? I look up at Do-hyun. What did they find? The bag that was handed to him this morning, Do-hyun says simply, contained something that airport security takes very seriously. An explosive, Sung-ho says, detected on the first scan. On the tablet screen, Min Jae is on the floor. His hands are behind his back. Officers are surrounding him from every direction, and his mouth is moving, explaining, pleading, insisting, and not one of them is listening. He's being charged as a terrorist, Do-hyun says. He will not be boarding that plane. He will not be making deals. He will not be walking out of anywhere for a very long time. I stare at the screen. Then I stare at Do-hyun. You planned this from the beginning, I say. The money, the ticket, the car, all of it. I needed him to walk through that checkpoint willingly, he says. With the bag, you used his own greed against him. Yes. Something breaks open in my chest. Not painfully, the opposite of painfully. Like a fist that has been clenched for so long it forgot how to open. Finally, slowly, finger by finger, releasing everything it was holding, I laugh. It comes out wet and broken and completely real, and then it becomes something else entirely, and I am crying and laughing at the same time, and I press both hands over my face because I don't know what to do with this feeling. This enormous, overwhelming, flooding feeling of something finally going right. You absolutely devoured him. I drop my hands. I look at him. You could have told me. You would have tried to stop me. I would have. I stop. Yes, I would have. I shake my head. Do-hyun. Seo-jun. I lean forward and I kiss him. It is not planned. It is not calculated. It is the most impulsive thing I have done in years. And it happens before my brain finishes forming the intention. My hands on either side of his face, and my mouth on his, and everything I don't have words for yet, pressed into that single point of contact. He goes completely still. For one suspended second, he doesn't move at all, and I feel the stillness of him, the held breath of a man who has spent his entire life maintaining absolute control, suddenly encountering something he did not prepare for. Then his hands come up. They find my face the way careful things find fragile things, slowly, deliberately, like he is making sure I am real. And he kisses me back with a gentleness so complete and so unhurried that it says everything the story has been building toward without using a single word. When we finally separate, his forehead drops to mine. Neither of us speaks. The waiting room is quiet around us, and his hands are still holding my face, and I can feel his breath evening out slowly. Like a man coming back to himself after somewhere he didn't expect to go. I didn't plan that part, I say quietly. I know, he says. Was it? Yes, he says. Before I finish the question, I laugh again, softer this time, and he makes a sound I have never heard from him before, low and warm and private, the kind that doesn't exist in the version of him the rest of the world sees. I think I want to be the only person who ever hears it. A few hours pass. We sit together in that waiting room, his hand over mine, my head eventually finding his shoulder, the tablet face down on the seat beside us with Min Jae's frozen panic on its screen, and we wait. We are good at waiting now. We have practiced it together, and we know how to do it without letting the silence become something heavy. Then the doctor appears in the doorway. We both stand at the same time. The doctor meets us at the door of her room. She's weak, he says quietly. But she's awake, and she's been asking for you since she opened her eyes. I push the door open slowly. The room is small and white and filled with the soft mechanical rhythm of monitors. My mother is propped against the pillows with an IV line running into her arm and her hair loose around her shoulders. She looks smaller than I remember, like the weeks took something from her that medication and fluids can put back, but only partially. Only so much. But her eyes find me the moment I step through the door. And she smiles. There he is, she whispers. My throat closes completely. I cross the room and pull the chair to her bedside and sit down and take both her hands in mine and hold them the way you hold something you almost lost and cannot yet fully believe you are touching again. Mom, my voice is wrecked. I'm here. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry it took me so long to find you. Stop apologizing. Her voice is thin, but her grip on my hands is surprisingly firm. You found me. That's all that matters. She squeezes once. Let me look at you. I let her look. She studies my face the way she has always studied it, like she is reading something written there that only she knows how to see. Her eyes move to the bruising still fading on my throat, and her expression tightens for just a moment before she smooths it back into something gentle. You've been through so much, she says softly. So have you. I'm a tough old woman. The corner of her mouth lifts. Always have been. I laugh. It comes out wet and broken. Yes, you have. Her eyes move past me then, to the doorway, where Do-hyun is standing with his hands clasped in front of him, giving us space, present, but unobtrusive in the way he has learned to be. Who is that? She asks. I turn. Then I look back at her. His name is Do-hyun, I say. I stop. I think about how to explain what Do-hyun is. What word covers a man who stood in a club and said, "Take your hand off him," who sat beside a hospital bed for days, who put a blanket over me while I slept, who kissed me back like I was something worth being careful with. He's the reason I found you, I finally say. He's the reason I'm still standing. Soo-yeon looks at Do-hyun for a long moment. Do-hyun meets her eyes and inclines his head respectfully. Come closer, she says to him. I can't see properly from there. He crosses the room and stands at the foot of her bed, and she examines him with the same unhurried, thorough attention she just gave me. You took care of my son, she says. I tried to, Do-hyun answers. Did he let you? Eventually. She makes a sound that is almost a laugh. That sounds right. She looks at me with something warm and knowing in her eyes. He doesn't accept help easily. I've noticed, Do-hyun says. Mom? I shake my head. I'm allowed to say whatever I want. She squeezes my hands again and I feel the grip of it. Still there. Still her. I just needed to see you. I needed to know you were okay before. She stops, takes a careful breath. I needed to see your face. I'm okay, I tell her. I'm okay, Mom. And you're going to be okay too. They got you here in time. You just need to rest and let them… Seo-jun. Something in the way she says my name makes me stop talking. She is looking at me with an expression I recognize. The one she has always worn when she is about to tell me something true that she knows I don't want to hear. The one she wore when she first told me she was sick. The one she wore every time she said I'm fine too quickly, and I knew she wasn't. I'm so proud of you, she says. Do you know that? I need you to know that before anything else. Whatever I did wrong, whatever I couldn't give you, you became someone extraordinary without any of it. You survived things that would have broken most people, and you stayed kind. Her voice catches. You stayed so kind, baby. That was never easy. But you did. Mom, please don't. Take care of yourself. Her eyes move to Do-hyun and back to me. Let people in. Let him in. A pause. He looks at you the way your father used to look at me. Mom, promise me. I press her hands against my face. I can't speak. I just nod against her knuckles and hold on, and she lets me, stroking my hair the way she used to when I was small, slow and steady and unhurried. Good, she whispers. Good boy. I don't know exactly when it happens. One moment her hands are moving in my hair. The next they are still. Not tensed, not sudden, just still. The way water goes still. The way a room goes still after music stops. I keep holding them for a moment without understanding. And then understanding arrives all at once, and my whole body knows before my mind finishes forming the thought. Her hands are not moving. Her chest is not moving. Mom. My voice comes out very small. Mom? Nothing. Mom? I am on my feet. I don't remember standing. Someone help. I need someone. Please. Do-hyun is already at the door. Doctor. Now. Room 4. Now. They come. 3 of them. Then 4, filling the small white room with urgent movement and equipment and voices calling things to each other across the bed. I am pulled back gently but firmly to the wall, and I let myself be moved because my legs have stopped working the way legs are supposed to work, and the only thing keeping me upright is Do-hyun's arm around my shoulders, pressing me against his side. I watch them work. I watch them work for a long time. Then the lead doctor straightens. He turns. He looks at me with an expression I have seen once before in my life. In this same building. In a room very similar to this one. I'm sorry, he says. We did everything we could. The sound that comes out of me has no shape. Do-hyun pulls me in and I press my face against his shoulder, and I fall apart in the way I have never fully allowed myself to fall apart. Completely, totally, with nothing held back and nowhere left to hide. His arms come around me and he holds on, and he doesn't say it's okay because he is too honest for that, and we both know it isn't okay, and it won't be okay for a long time. But he holds on, and I let him. The funeral is small and quiet, and exactly what she would have wanted. No performance, no excess, just the people who actually knew her, gathered in the morning light, saying goodbye to a woman who survived more than most people will ever understand, and raised a son alone, and never once stopped believing he was worth the cost of it. I stand at the graveside with Do-hyun beside me, and I say everything I didn't get to finish saying in that hospital room, quietly, just between us, the way she always preferred things. Then I let her go. Years pass the way years do when you finally stop surviving and start living. Faster than you expect, fuller than you planned, softer in places you thought would always be hard. Do-hyun and I build something together that doesn't have a template. It isn't simple and it isn't always quiet, and there are days when the grief comes back in waves that catch me off guard, and days when I reach for my stomach out of old habit and have to sit with what I find. But Do-hyun is there, every morning. Coffee already the right temperature, eyes already on the door when I walk through it. Present in the unhurried, undemanding way that has always been his particular language for something he spent years believing he wasn't capable of feeling. I dance sometimes, in the living room, when the mood finds me, not because I have to, not because someone is watching, just because my body remembers how, and it feels like mine now in a way it didn't always. One evening Do-hyun comes home and finds me mid-routine, and stops in the doorway and watches with that expression he doesn't bother hiding anymore. "You don't have to watch," I tell him. "I know," he says. He stays anyway. And I think about the night I walked into that club with a calculation behind my eyes and a promise I had made too many times to count. I think about the music stopping. I think about a man in a dark suit taking one step forward and a room rearranging itself around him. I think about my mother's hands going still. I think about how much I have lost. And then I think about this ordinary evening, this living room, this man in the doorway who chose me not because of biology or obligation or what I could give him, but because he looked at everything I was and decided it was worth staying for. I stop dancing. I walk to him. He opens his arms before I get there. I thought the night I entered that club was the beginning of everything I had lost. I didn't know it would become the night I finally found my way home. The end. Seo-jun danced through pain no one saw. He survived what no one knew, and he loved again when he had every reason not to. If Seo-jun's story stayed with you, comment below and tell me which moment broke you. Subscribe so you never miss what comes next.